Hi, folks. I'm Eagle Spitz. That's official now as well. I'm officially Eagle Spitz. I've got the paperwork and everything. Not that I care what the state's up to particularly. Anyway, this is an evening of culture of sorts 3. And I've got a very special guest with me, Chris Allan. Hello, mate.
Hi, Eagle. How are you?
Yeah, not bad. Not bad at all. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Chris.
I'm long-standing academic. I was working in universities for 28 years, and during that time, been involved in various kind of struggles, mainly around housing struggles, gentrification, things like that. To cut a long story short, became disillusioned with the university in the around about 2008, 2009 for various reasons, and found my way out of it. And I'm still there on a part-time basis. Started looking at into other things. I met you at a Christian Anarchist conference. That was about, how long? 5, 6 years ago, something like that?
Something like that, yeah. Time goes by when,
yeah. Yeah. And I mean, to be honest with you, Eagle, it was one of those things where you'd spend your life fighting the system and getting nowhere, and fighting battles with the powerful and getting nowhere. And then I came across people like Dorothy Day, kind of anarchist thinkers like that, Peter Maurin, and started reading more of the literature on non-violence, thinking about non-violence, and decided, that rather than fighting the powerful, I needed to pay a bit more attention to the way I was living my own life. And what that meant was leaving or spending a lot of less time at the university and spending my time on other things, such as meeting you at the Christian Anarchist conference a few years ago, and doing other things that were consistent with those kind of beliefs. And that's in a nutshell where I've come from and where I am now.
Right, because you've written a few books, haven't you, Chris?
Yeah, as part of my academic life, if you like, I've written a few books. One of them, the one that made me leave actually was a book I wrote called Housing Market Renewal and Social Class. It was about gentrification, and I was writing that book. I'd been working with people in working class communities in the north of England. And at the time there was a new Labour programme, which was to demolish inner city terraced housing and replace it with kind of flash apartments built by volume builders. And they were getting their hands on this land very cheaply by compulsory purchasing those people and forcing out the houses. They were receiving a pittance really for their homes, and then passing the land to big developers, volume developers, who could then sell apartments for super profits. And I wrote a book about it, got involved in public inquiries, which were trying to stop the whole thing happening, got myself in a whole lot of trouble in the academic community because we took on the government, me and a friend, Lee, from Sheffield University, took on the government lawyers. And what you find about universities and academics these days, they've got their snouts in the trough. And so they don't like to get on the wrong side of government, big, powerful people who've got money, because that's what universities and other academics want. So by fighting those battles and getting on the wrong side of those people, I found my name was blackened in the academic community. I was threatened with legal action for writing the book. The publisher was threatened, held out against it, and then it was published, and then they all crawled back down the hole that they came out of in the first place. But the funny thing about that was, although it was a big battle, and you know, writing the book was important because it told those people's stories, we still lost, you know. And it made me realize actually that kind of endlessly fighting those battles was kind of limited, really, as a political strategy, to keep endlessly fighting battles with the state. And that really what we needed to do, or what I needed to do, was find another tack, you know. And so I'd find my way through all sorts of social, you know, as you do when you're a student, you go through all the different socialist parties, SWP, Socialist Party of Great Britain, Communist Party, Labour Party, get in with them all, fall out with them all, and end up, you know, in the kind of anarchist terrain, you know, thinking along those lines, and like, as I say, you know, trying to find another path, really. So that was, yeah, one of those books was a big turning point in my life towards this kind of work, you know.
But I think it's a new book which we'd like to talk about.
Yeah.
It's just come out, hasn't it?
Yeah, there's a new book just come out. It's called Football Without Borders, and it's about a refugee football team that I founded and run in Liverpool. Really what the book does is it tells the story of the refugee football team, but it kind of knits a narrative of the stories of the lads that play for the team, all their different stories coming from different countries. It knits those different stories together in the context of an overall football story. And one of the reasons for that is because football is as good a medium as any to communicate with people about the kind of issues that we currently face around refugees. You know, there's as we know, the government, Theresa May, it precedes Theresa May, actually have created a hostile environment for refugees in the UK. And so the whole object of the book really is to challenge that hostile environment and to provide an alternative narrative about what it is to be a refugee in the UK. The main kind of storyline around that comes from the dominant media outlets. And so, you know, by telling the story through football, I'm hoping to reach maybe an audience that wouldn't otherwise access that kind of narrative, I think.
Excellent, excellent. And the football team is based in Liverpool, yeah?
Yeah, it's based in Liverpool, yeah, at a local church in Liverpool.
But you're never going to believe how unprofessional I've just got. I've just lost your questions. I'm back. I'm going to have to get Alex to edit this.
You can edit it, can't you?
Yeah. So, did you get any comeback setting the team up? I mean, was there any racist issues you faced with or not?
Yeah, there's setting a football team up. There's good reasons to do it. If you're looking at young lads who have come to the UK, and some of those lads come to the UK, they'll be very young and they'll have made journeys to the UK at ages as young as 14, and they'll have come on their own, you know? And so they'll have journeyed from places like Sudan, Eritrea, on their own. And they find themselves in the UK. It can be a very, very lonely place in a hostile environment when you have no money. There's nothing there for you other than to, you know, sit in your flat or wherever it is, churning over the thoughts of where you've come from. And that's quite a bad place to be. So what those lads like to do is play football. So it makes perfect sense to set a football team up. But the problem with setting a football team up as well is that it's a bit like George Orwell, once said, it's war minus the shooting. And so I think he mentioned the Middle East, Israel-Palestine conflict, and I think he said something along the lines of one of the worst things you could do is arrange a football match, and that can be the case. You know, you can. We've set the football team up. We've created a team that can compete in a local football league, and they do that. It brings all sorts of benefits to those lads to be able to play in that team, sense of belonging, community, family, mental health, gets them out, all this kind of stuff. Very, very important. Improves English as well, makes connections. Some people call that social capital, which can help in all sorts of ways. But like I say, you know, you put them on a pitch and they'll be playing some teams that don't really want them here. And as a result of that, you can encounter problems of racism. And there have been problems of racism in the football league that we left the first league that we participated in, and there were real problems of racism in that league. And the real issue for me was the football authorities seemed unwilling and incapable of doing anything about those problems of racism. So they seemed to be fairly intractable to me, which meant that we had to move on. So you do encounter problems of racism, and that's something that, you know, for me, you've got to overcome. You've got to find ways of overcoming those problems of racism, breaking down those barriers and using the football team in a positive way to tackle racism. So that's what we try to do as well. It's difficult to do that sometimes in the heat of battle on a football pitch, but given that you can create a football team with a distinctive identity, refugee identity, what that does give you license to do is to do things like go into schools, talk to young people about these issues, who may, you know, have no other understanding of these issues other than through media outlets. And so that's exactly what we've done. I've gone into schools with lads, talked about the issues, and I can see there the barriers have been broken down. You know, I've walked into classrooms where I went to a school in St. Helens, and I was in the staff room with one of the lads, and a teacher came over and said, "Oh, what are you here for?" I said, "I'm here to talk about the refugee football team I run, and to some of your pupils." And this teacher said, "Good luck, it's white round here." So I thought it kind of, it was a challenge really, because it was one of those kind of towns, I think, that Hope Not Hate have kind of identified as being, you know, having problems of racism and being white and so on. But we went into the class actually, and I could see the body language of some of the students quite hostile. You know, they were arms folded. You could tell that there was a hostility about them. Not all of them, you know. I mean, there's some looked really intrigued by it all, others hostile. We gave a talk, you know. I kind of introduced one of the lads, tell his story. He joins in and kind of tells a story as well. The reason I told the story is because of his English wasn't so good, but he made a really good job of you know, working with me to tell the story. Get to the end of the class, and all of a sudden, you know, the body language has changed. And when we finished, the young people, 17, 18, walking out the class, and they're all hugging him, you know. And that's the value to me of having the football team and running a football team, is because it gives us a platform in which we can do those things. So awesome. It's got positives.
Brilliant. Have you got your book in front of you?
I have, Eagle.
Would you like to do as a read us some? Show us a cover and do us a reading of that. That'd be lovely.
Yeah, okay. The book is here. There. Football Without Borders. That's some of the team on the front. And What I'll do is I'll read the kind of preamble, if you like,
Excellent.
which opens up the book. So, having recently walked out of my job, I found myself standing outside the building of Asylum Link Merseyside, wondering what's on the inside. I read on their website about an allotment project, and I'm here to volunteer on it. The allotment project provides food for volunteers to cook in the Asylum Link kitchen. They need it. People seeking asylum in the UK get virtually no money to live on, so they go hungry. It also provides mental health benefits to asylum seekers. They can go to work on the allotment and forget about all of their problems for a few hours. As I push the door open, the throng of people overwhelms me. Some are sitting on their own, staring at the floor. Others are milling around aimlessly. A few are talking with each other. Can I help? The volunteer on the desk, a refugee, smiles as he waits my answer. After I explain who I am and why I'm here, he ushers me upstairs to meet the centre manager, Ewan. Ewan and the handful of people that work here have dedicated their lives to helping the crowd of people that seemingly fill every available inch of space in the building. Somehow he finds time for everyone, including me. I then travel to the allotment, where, like the people that fill the Asylum Link building, I am seeking to restart my own life in the midst of the chaos engulfing these other people's lives. With the increasingly pointless demands of my job as a university professor now in the past, real life is calling, and I'm about to embrace it. We dig weeds, we plant seeds, we eat what we grow back at Asylum Link, where Ruth transforms it into amazing curries. We talk as we nurture the land and devour its produce. I reel in horror at some of the things my new friends have been through in their lives. We reach out to each other, and then the inevitable happens, football. We start to watch it together. We go to non-league matches at AFC Liverpool together. Then in 2018, we form our own football team. We're going to be the first 11-a-side football team composed entirely of people seeking asylum and refugees to play competitive football in England. In my dreams, Jurgen Klopp is coming to the launch. I sent the letter anyway. We're going to win the league. Ruth is going to win over the opposition with the taste of her curries after each game. We are going to spread the love to everyone, and they will love us back in turn. It will be like everything I have always dreamed football could be like. After 40 odd years of searching for the soul of football among the various clubs of England and Wales, I think I am finally coming face to face with the true spirit of football. I'm exhilarated. 9 months later, the dream is over and my naiveties have been shattered into a million pieces. Battered and bruised by the reality of grassroots football in my home city, I find myself reading more and more books about masculinity and racism. Things are so bad that we have even resigned from our league in protest of the toxic culture that the authorities are overseeing but not tackling. It was never meant to be like this. I think about giving the authorities both barrels in a resignation letter. However, they are part of the toxic culture and the problem rather than the solution. We have given them enough chances during the season to show they care. However, they have not given a toss about us, and they have not been scared to show it. I want to make a statement, but what is the point if the only people that can do anything about it are not listening and don't care? What's more, I'm afraid of making a statement in case there's any comeback in the form of yet more threats and intimidation. Therefore, I return to the private world in my head and begin to scribble down what I want to say to the world, if only it would listen. If nothing else, it will be cathartic. I begin to type. Ullet Road Church Rebels FC today resigned their membership of the Incompetente Football League with one game to play due to the lack of respect shown to our club and our players on and off the pitch, which in the light of the FA Respect campaign is ironic. We have chosen not to take our grievances to the football authorities because we have no confidence in them. They are part of the problem. As a club, we will have discussions about what we do next to tackle the problems we are encountering in football and society more generally. I stop typing and read back what I have written. It says what I want to say, but it is crushing. After all the years spent searching the length and breadth of Britain for the soul of football, I thought I had finally found it, but the words I have just written on the screen are telling me it doesn't really exist. I cannot leave it like this. I am 49 years old. I've spent 42 of those years in football grounds, large and small, British and European. This cannot be the end of my football story. My fingers hover over the keyboard. They are determined that I am going to carry on. So they produce a quotation from the club chairman, the Reverend Phil. I am saddened that we have had to resign our membership of the league. However, we have had to take a stand. We were all born under the same sky, yet it is as if this fundamental truth does not exist in large parts of society. Our aim now must be to ensure that we carry on working as a church football club that fields a team of refugees and people seeking asylum to promote this fundamental truth as deep and as wide as we can. The words that I have just put into Phil's mouth stir me up. They make my typing fingers more restless. Text continues to appear on the screen. This time it's me speaking as the club secretary. It means so much to our young players that our club exists. We are the family that many of them otherwise would not have. Resignation from the league is a temporary setback. We are already planning our return to league competition elsewhere because our players need football. As I sit back in my chair and stare at what I have written on the computer screen, I think about the cast of characters that have been involved in our story so far and the many that are dependent on it continuing. Liverpool have just come back from 3 goals down against Barcelona to reach the Champions League final. After the game, Mo Salah strode onto the pitch to reveal a never give up t-shirt under his coat. This is no time for quitting. Our players are dependent on us. My search for football nirvana, which started back in 1977, must continue.
A bit of light reading then.
Bit of light reading.
Yeah, that's yeah, I'm a bit, yeah, gobsmacked. Yeah, because I've actually got the book, but I haven't managed to pick it up yet because I'm so busy. But yeah, it's definitely moved to the top of my list now. Top of my pile. Oh, and has the story moved on from there?
Yeah, we came back, Eagle. We came back. Funnily enough, we found a league, the Merseyside Christian League, which was much better. So we found that league, and we've been playing in that league for the second season. Since then, we've had the lockdown, so we haven't played this season. But we're planning our comeback next season. But it's really important, you know, that these things happen because you can see. I mean, I think probably we can see what it's like to be a little bit like somebody who's in the asylum system, because when you're in the asylum system in the UK with the hostile environment, with no money, you can't work, there's nothing for you, your access to the kind of things that you and I take for granted is denied. You know, your life can be very, very lonely. You know, I've met players, young lads, and when I meet them, I say, "Oh, run a football club, come along." All of those lads tell me a story of loneliness. And what we find in the lockdown is it can be quite isolating. So you get a little bit of a sense of what it can be like. And but of course, these players are suffering in isolation because they've been through horrendous things. You know, you and I both know, because we're interested in what goes on in the broader world, about global politics, about what's happening in the Middle East, what's happening in North Africa. You know, we've got players from Sudan, players from Darfur. There was villages in Darfur that were torched, women raped, the wells poisoned. You know, mass killings that went on, that have escaped those things, that have seen family members killed, that are traumatized, and they come to the UK and they find themselves locked up in the isolation of the hostile environment when they get to the UK, and they need football. You know, it's the kind of universal language that particularly young lads and young women as well kind of relate to. And so we have to come back. We need to come back, and we need to be there for them, because without us, you know, that's the kind of life that the government in the UK has consigned them to, you know, and it's a terrible indictment on the British state. We take the most vulnerable people in the world who really we should be offering sanctuary to, offering care and support to, and we chuck them in the shittiest housing that you can find. There's various reports on this about asylum housing. It is the worst housing in the UK. It is even below the standard of what is considered to be the minimal standard that you're allowed to live in if you're a UK citizen. Those standards don't apply to asylum housing. So we are consigning people, to the most vulnerable people, to the worst possible conditions of poverty and destitution and loneliness. So we've got to be there for them. So, you know, our plan is to come back as soon as possible in May, really, and to rebuild the team and the club, and to provide that kind of community for people. It's vital.
Excellent. So I guess where we move from there is you set your own publishing company up to bring out your book as well, didn't you?
Yeah. It's interesting, really, because I've published work through academic publishers, and when I was starting this, I thought about going through a mainstream publisher in the same way that I did when I published academic work. And what you find, obviously, is you lose control of the process. And so what I wanted to do, I mean, I'm kind of into you know, kind of I'm influenced by anarchist ideas, autonomous politics, you know, keeping away from the big corporations and stuff like that. And then I was saying to myself, why am I doing this? Why am I sort of talking to these people about them publishing my book? I'll have no control over it. And, you know, I've put years of work into building this team up for the lads to tell their story. I've written it all up in a book, and they're just going to walk away with the money. So I thought, right, okay, I'll set up my own publishing company, not just to publish this, but to be a platform for other people. So what came about was 29 Publishing. And what it's enabled me to do is, when you look into the publishing process, it's like music, you know, punks demystified music in the 1970s, 1980s, and we began to realize we could do these things for ourselves. We didn't need the big corporations to help us do these things. And it's the same with publishing. You look at what a publisher does, and you can actually do all these things if you want to. And I've got a friend who's a graphic designer who I worked with, and he helped me with the cover. And what that really enables me to do now is have full control over the process, and to channel any money that comes out of it towards the kind of organizations that I care about, that we care about. And in this instance, that's Asylum Link. So if anybody's going to get any financial benefit from this, it's not going to be some publisher based down in London. It's going to be a local charity called Asylum Link in Liverpool. Without Asylum Link in Liverpool, people would go under. You know, we like I say, we have the hostile environment. Thank God for Asylum Link, Eagle, you know, because Asylum Link provides a space for people to go to. There's mental health support, there's food, there's a clothes bank, there's activities, there's all sorts. Without that, the people, you know, they really would go under. That have nothing. So above all, you know, for me, having a publishing company allows me to not just get that story out, which is vital, because these stories, you know, you've got to humanize people. The media demonize people all the time. Asylum seekers are talked in language that makes them subhuman. What the book does, it brings the lads in the book to life as real human beings. You know, it's very emotional. You know, I've spoken about the lads and their stories in events around Liverpool, where I've spoken to audiences. You know, I do this as a job, Eagle. I can stand up and speak to audiences. It's fine. You know, you just do it. But when I've tried to speak about this, honestly, because of I know the lads so well, because I know how young they are, and because I know what they've been through, I've fought through those speeches with lumps in my throat and tears in my eyes, because, you know, we're talking about real human lives, and the book is communicating what those stories are in those kind of real human contexts. So it enables me to get the book out, tell those stories, vital, and also to support Asylum Link. And as far as other projects go, writing projects go, I work by a rule now in 29 Publishing of 25%. Anything we do, 25% goes to an organisation that we all believe in. Whoever I'm working with, it goes to an organisation we all believe in and need to support. And the rest will go into supporting new writers and getting new projects off the ground and paying for printing costs and all the rest of it, you know, the things that we can't do for ourselves that we need to pay other people to do. So that's how it works. And I'm really excited about it, really, because I think, you know, it's one of those projects where we can make a difference ourselves and work with each other and collaborate with each other to make that difference.
Sounds pretty spot on, mate. Sounds, yeah, exciting.
It is, mate. And I think the thing is great coming on things like this because, you know, we don't use Amazon, we don't use Waterstones. We're completely reliant on our own networks, really. We've all got to help each other, you know, in order to get things out there. So, you know, it's, you know, the only platforms that I really want to use are things like this. Really, I was on another program the other day, which is an independent kind of media channel, and again, they were really supportive of the book, and that's the great thing about what we do, isn't it? We all kind of work to support each other, and 29 Publishing's a part of that network now, I hope, you know. So if anybody's got any great ideas for books they want to write, and organisations they want to support, you know, I'm all ears, really.
Well, that sounds perfect for what we do. And,
it is, isn't it?
Yeah, so we'll be expecting a new Eagle Spitz book later in the year.
We are. That's our next project, isn't it?
Hey, and yeah, I'm working hard on that. So thanks for being on, Chris.
Any pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
Any last words? And I guess you'll be sending us links where people can contact you for books and stuff, yeah?
Yeah, you can buy the book if you're interested at 29publishing.co.uk, and that is spelled TWENTY, number 9, PUBLISHING at so 29publishing.co.uk.
Brilliant.
No, it is, of course it's not, it's a website, 29publishing.co.uk.
And we'll be posting a link up with the video anyway, folks, so go and buy that book and buy one for your friends.
Yeah, please do.
Support
please
what's
do.
going on. And thanks for supporting Punk for the Homeless. Bye-bye from me. And
thank you, Eagle.
Bless you, man. You take care. Hope to see you soon.
Cheers.